It is the Royal Rumble this evening, 2022. Here, my name's Steve. I'm going to give you those last minute bits of speculation, last bits of updates. So if you want to get involved in the chat and have a discussion for the next 15, 20 minutes, then feel free to get in nice and early. Any questions will be answered. But just going to give my thoughts and feelings as we go into the Rumble. We've had SmackDown yesterday. A bit of food for thought coming out from that show, particularly first and foremost, Sasha Banks returning on SmackDown. Now, a few had speculated that Sasha would return at the Royal Rumble, but of course, no one really, I think, really knew that she was going to come back last night on SmackDown. I thought it was a very welcome addition to the show, added extra buzz to the Rumble, added a bit of excitement as well to the SmackDown Women's Division. I do think it's been lacking that bit of star power in recent weeks. But the big question is, will Sasha Banks go on to win the Royal Rumble? One of the big talking points that will be going on today, and I'll answer in a couple of seconds' time. But first off, let's go to the chat. Jones is saying, good evening, Steve. Happy Royal Rumble Day. Happy Royal Rumble Day to you as well. And as well as that, Supersonic saying, how are you doing? I'm doing very, very well. Dan, thank you very much for offering that. I've got no way to actually get to you quickly, unfortunately, to get you on the stream. But please get involved in the chat. And this will be quite a short one. I'm going for a maximum of 15, 20 minutes. That's all I can allocate of time here. But please get involved with your thoughts and feelings and your predictions as well. We'd be grateful for them. Randy saying, any surprises for the man tonight? We'll have to wait and see. I've got a few that'll be rolling up my sleeve. But let's quickly go and talk into it. But before I do, Ed Fries, good afternoon to you as well. Thanks for everyone that's getting involved in the chat. Yeah, I said Sasha Banks there. Will she win the Royal Rumble? She returned last night. My opinion is no, and here is my reasoning for it. There is that thing when you look at last year, Edge returned on the Raw before the Royal Rumble, and people thought, well, as he's not returned at the Rumble, that means he wouldn't win, but he went on to win. So there is that to keep in mind. But I still believe WWE have given so many of these names away. I think the big one is waiting, which is why I've put Ronda Rousey on the thumbnail. Of course, there's been speculation running wild, first broken by Tom Colohue as well. It's been caught on them with the likes of Fightful and other people like that. So let's see what will happen tonight. But I do believe Ronda Rousey is set to return tonight. So that's my feelings, that's my thoughts on it. I think Sasha Banks will probably be in and around near the end, but I do think as well it's probably more than likely that Sasha Banks will be going against Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. That's been sitting in the room for a very, very, very long time now, and yeah, I think it looks set to be done. But we'll see then. Jonesy says here, what did you make of them revealing it the night before the Rumble? I thought it was a good thing, and like I said a minute ago, I think it's because they've got some more, more surprises up their sleeve, if I'm being brutally honest, Jonesy. We spoke about Ronda there just a minute ago. There are others that have been spotted and sighted around the St. Louis area. I don't really want to give some of those names away because I feel it's a bit unfair for those that don't want to know. But let's just say that there could be one or two that you don't expect that could be in this match. Maybe not groundbreaking names, but there could be one or two that they have managed to get. If you do want to know them, then I don't know, really. Probably just go and look on the dirt sheets. It's probably the best way to go and find where they will be. But Dan Williams does say, do you think Shane McMahon and Bad Bunny will be in the match? I have the feeling Shane will have a match with Austin Theory. I love that philosophy very quickly. Again, Shane and Austin Theory would be a great rivalry to do, of course, with Vince McMahon, obviously doing this stuff with him and Austin every week on Raw. So that's an awesome idea. Would Shane return? It's definitely something I've seen speculated. It's not something I'm 100% certain will happen. Bad Bunny is a funny one that you mentioned because, well, I mean, let's be honest, we haven't heard a peep of Bad Bunny for what, since WrestleMania last year. And WWE this week actually announced his tour that he's going to be doing this summer, which of course, yeah, if tickets are going out, probably a good time to promote it. But at the same time, does a bit of food for thought. And of course, he would add star power, celebrity. He's someone that loves wrestling, loves WWE. So it's something I wouldn't be surprised to see, but it's something I don't expect to see. So I'm going to say no to both. But hey, look, like yourself, I'm going to pop out my seat if either of them do come through the curtain. Jones has already thrown a question that I'm going to answer in the second, which is something I do want to talk about whilst on the stream. But first of all, this says, who do you see being the Iron Woman in the women's match? I've got two names in mind. I've got Naomi as one of them because I still believe she's going to be the #1 entrant. That has not changed in my opinion. But I think Asuka will come into the Royal Rumble match as well. And I do think that she will get a long showing. If she's been fitting good to go for a while, I expect her to come in tonight and be in the match for quite a lengthy part of the time, whether it's from the #1 or #2, or from like an early stage to near the very end. Something then that I wanted to talk about, it says, has your pick changed in the Brock versus Bobby match? And I said the other day in my predictions that I thought Brock Lesnar would retain over Bobby Lashley. I said I thought Seth Rollins would defeat Roman Reigns. Now, two controversial picks. They were controversial at the time because a lot of the chat, and even Jonesy was on the stream with me, went the other way. And I said, well, I'm probably wrong, and I'm going to say it now. I still think I'm wrong because I'm going to stick with the predictions. It would be wrong to change it this late. But judging by the stories of both of them, and people know me who've watched this for a while, I always like to look at where we are going into the pay-per-view. And going into the pay-per-view, Brock Lesnar has given Bobby Lashley absolutely nothing, nada. If Brock wins in dominating fashion, Lashley is buried in this situation. And don't get it twisted, he would be buried in the situation after all that good booking for nearly 2 years to be given finally that dream match against Brock, to be absolutely given nothing out of it apart from, what, 3 strong moves at the day one fatal 5-way match, which ultimately led to nothing, would not be good. I want to see Lashley get something out of it. So I think it makes sense for Bobby Lashley to win that match. And obviously, if you look at last night on SmackDown, well, Seth Rollins has had Roman's number the whole way through. I was expecting Roman to have something at the end of this to really sort of have the one-upsmanship going into the pay-per-view after Seth had been so strong for so many weeks. So it makes sense for Roman to win and for Lashley to win. So those were George's predictions. I think he's right. Although I'm going to stick with my predictions because, damn it, if I change now and I end up there when I would have been right, I'd be kicking myself. So I stick with my predictions, George, but I'm saying here live on the stream, I think your predictions were right. I've got a couple more comments going flying in, and I'm going to still talk about the match order as well, what I think will be on the card. But first off, let's go through the comment section and see what we've got. Mike, thank you, Mike, for checking out the stream. A Tannenhabs, Mike, as I like to always say on the Q&As. I think if Drew returns tonight, it will be a late entry, 28 to 30. Minimize his minutes, especially if the plan on having Drew win it. That would make a lot of sense. Now, after Sasha's come back, you really think anything could happen, and Drew would make a lot of sense. What a great, fun, surprise entrant that you could be. And it's like I said, from that position as well, you can minimize the minutes. It's sort of a sensible thing to do, if anything. I would think the same for Bayley if she was to come in. If Ronda does come in, of course, it's going to be very late on. So this is sensible, smart booking idea you've got here, Mike. And I think if Drew comes back at this point, I think anything is possible looking at what we've had at the build of the last few weeks. The way WWE as well said that Sasha Banks wouldn't be around for a while. Now we see here that she's come back. It can be possible with Drew as well. Dan asking the hard-hitting question here. Are you braving an all-nighter and staying up to watch the Rumble? Now, Dan, if I was probably a few years younger, probably even 2 or 3 years younger, I don't think there's any question marks in it. I think I would have been up for the whole duration. But the fact is, when the event started at midnight and they finished at like 4 for the UK time zone, I could potentially brave that. But knowing it's not going to start till 1 a.m., at best, it's going to finish at 5 a.m. It could even go to like 5:30. I don't think I've got Amy, especially if I want to be a happy Steve coming on for the review on Sunday. So I think there's a realistic chance that maybe I might stay up until the end of the first Rumble match, maybe call it a night and then be up for the second half of it in the morning, avoiding Twitter and avoiding all spoilers. So that's probably going to be my intention of how I will play it. But Dan, if you're planning on staying up all night, because I know you're in the UK time zone as well, any UKers in the chat, let me know, are you braving it all night or not? It'd be good to see if that same consensus is there with everyone. We have got Joe. So, have you ever known so many WWE? Let's start that again. Apologies. Have you ever known WWE to have so many entrants revealed before a pay-per-view? Surprise ones and legends, no. Of course, entrants, yes, of course. They'd always give about at least 20 or so of the names away of the actual current roster. But if you look at the Women's Royal Rumble, they've given so many of the surprises or what would be the shock factor. But I suppose if you had, I don't know, what has it now been for the women? It's got to be about, what, 9 or 10 surprises there for the women that we perhaps didn't expect. So, I mean, if you give that and Ronda Rousey away, does it sort of take away from like the biggest ones and from the smallest ones? I mean, say for example, we didn't know the Bellas were going to come in, and that's going to be seen as a big deal to some out there. There are some big Bella Twin fans, and Nikki Bella was a big deal at one point, the longest reigning Divas champion going. That's a big deal for WWE. So it's already been overpowered with the fact that Mickie James at the same time was the big name. Now we've got Sasha Banks here. If we've got Ronda Rousey as well, Bayley, Asuka, there's so many that could be there. It could just take something away. So I'm not so surprised that the WWE have done it, because I do believe that if you look at it, I do believe they've got still some more big names under their hat. And I think they're going to be the same for the men as well. We'll go with a couple more, and then I will just give you my last thoughts of this stream. And then what I will do from that is I will actually then say, right, okay, just to the Q&A for about 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll call it off, and then I'll wish you all the best for the Rumble. But Supersonic X, I posted an update on Oscar and Bailey. Seems that Oscar won't be back until February. Haven't seen that. I'm very sorry. I've not really been on Twitter active today. And of course, Bailey is still coming back in March. Well, the thing is, WWE has said this stuff, so this is where I kind of feel to myself, I don't know anymore. When you have that Rumble, it's taken over. I'm happy to see what happens and believe that some of these may come back. And the thing is, if neither of those two are in the Rumble match, I'm not going to be disappointed. So many big names that have been announced for this Rumble match that I'm pretty excited to see how it's going to go down. Even Sonya Deville's in this match now, which I think is pretty cool to see because, I mean, say what you want about Naomi and Sonya Deville's storyline. I'm very pleased to see that take place on SmackDown, and if that is the blow off for that, which probably it's not going to be, I just basically Sonya Deville back in the WWE ring. To be honest, I think she's done a fantastic job as GM. Glad that she's in the GM mode for WWE 2K22 when it comes out. Congrats to her on that. But I want to see her in ring as well, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Dan says he is streaming it as well. Luckily, he doesn't have work tomorrow, but that's definitely a good thing. And it's the good thing as well for the UK folk also, because work on a Monday up till 5 a.m. or so, yeah, that would be really painful. So Sunday seems to benefit the UK folk a lot more. So yeah, well, if you're streaming it, Dan, this is what I'm going to say. Maybe people can go and check it out Dan, give him support whilst he's there doing live the Royal Rumble stream, as well as a West Coast podcast as well. They are also going to be doing a live stream at the same time. They've got guests and games as well, and live chats, baby. Zax, that sounds great. If I am lively, that's what I'm going to say here as well, because like I say, I need to be lively for it. Unfortunately, I just can't guarantee it. My plan is to be up for one Rumble. It can change. I've got a few things I've got to do this evening, so we'll see when it comes to Rumble time. But I'll drop you a message when the Rumble starts, Zach, and I'll see if I'm lively or not, if I'm able to make it. So yeah. Well, quickly go in and say that my prediction of the match order on the card, and then that way I can just go to the chat and leave you all to it to throw in your questions, because I've already said I think Ronda will come back tonight. I think it's great that Sasha is back, but probably won't win. And I've obviously given my take on the championship matches. So those are the main things I want to talk about. But match order tonight then. I think one of the world title matches will kick off the show. If I had to predict, I think it'll be Brock and Lashley, same as what they did with Drew and Bobby last year, so they can have a shortish championship match to start off the show, and then they can have one of the Rumble matches quite early on into the second match. I think it'll be the women's match that will be the Rumble match first, but although I would like it to be the main event, that's just my personal preference. But we'll have to wait and see as WWE will book the show. Third match, I think, will be the mixed tag team match of Edge and Beth Phoenix against The Miz and Maurice, which is probably the most awkward position on the card, but probably would be fitting for that mixed tag team match. I think that's probably the one people are probably least invested in. I'm going to go with Becky and Doudrop as match 4 on the card. I think it's a great spot for Doudrop, by the way, to be on a major pay-per-view going for it. I'm really rooting for her to have a great showing tonight against Becky Lynch. I think both of these two will knock it out the park, even though I do believe, of course, Becky Lynch, I think, will retain. Match 5 then will be the other championship match, which I believe will be Roman versus Seth at that point. Again, if you were asking my opinion, I probably would switch that around with the championship matches, but that's still the order I think it will be, so I'll stick with that. And of course, I think the men's Royal Rumble will close the show. And the reason I think that is because there's possibly a chance that if Reigns or Lesnar loses their title, they may end up in the Rumble match to end up the night. But we'll have to wait and see how it will go down. I personally believe if they're going to do it, they should have the women's match as the main event, as the Royal Rumble, especially if Ronda is returning. I think that would be pretty darn special. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts of match order in the chat section as well. Would love to know your thoughts and feelings. But let's go then with just full on Q&A then, just to finish things off here. We'll probably go for, let's say we're on 14 minutes of the stream. Let's go for 11 minutes to close things up then and get as many questions in as you can. If Brock does not win the Rumble, who do you see winning, and where will this lead at Mania from Jonesy? I think Big E would be the one. I think I sort of touched on Big E as being a potential win the other day. I want to see that redemption story. I still wouldn't rule out if Lashley and Rollins, if they lose, if they end up in the Rumble themselves, but I'm not really feeling that. I think if you have that match, that should be your part of the night, and that should be it. Let other people have an opportunity to get that big moment for WrestleMania. And same with Brock and Roman. I mean, I think why not? They could do their thing at Elimination Chamber to get themselves in Saudi Arabia. It's going to be seen as a big, high money spending show for WWE, and that would be a place that, both of them will be on the show anyway. So just do it there, in my opinion. But no, Big E will be my answer. And do have to agree, by the way, Dan, you are hardcore, my friend. You very much are. Definitely should bring the hardcore title back, and Dan the Man Williams should be the first one holding it, defending it 24/7 style, of course. Mike says, what is one crazy wild prediction you hope happens tonight? Paige returns. That's going to be the one. Personally, it depends if she's cleared by WWE, but I think Paige, if she does come back, I do think it's up there with Edge and Daniel Bryan. I know that some people may feel differently about that, but for me, I think Paige coming back would definitely be up there. I think it'd be special. To think that someone that, you know, defined that sort of women's evolution that started back when NXT began, she was definitely one of the forefront names, and I think she could deserve a big special moment. She could come back in the Rumble tonight in front of all them fans. I think it'd be pretty darn special. Randy Sam says, interesting Sonya in the Rumble. Is a possibility that Mandy shows up, like you said in your predictions, and Naomi has got a best friend. I think it's a possibility that that could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if you've seen my fantasy booking video. I actually brought Cameron in as a rival to Naomi at number 2. And the reason I did that was because, well, the Fungal Dactyls did break up in WWE and did have a rivalry before Cameron was released. But I think for this, it would possibly makes sense if the odds are against Naomi in the Rumble with, say, for example, a Sonya and a best friend in Mandy. Let's not forget Mandy Rose has been in every Women's Royal Rumble match up until this point. So she's got the experience of being in these matches, which makes me think that she would make sense being there. Also, we have 2 world champions already. It doesn't hurt adding a third. But West Coast Podcast, would it be better for business for Ronda to get involved in Becky's match and save the Rumble spot to a full-timer, or Lita or Mickey for a win? Interesting question. And here's the reason why I think I could agree with you on this, is because if Ronda comes back in, she doesn't need to come back tonight. She doesn't need to come into the Rumble. She's automatically going to be the number 1 contender and could call her shot. She could literally be, if you look back in those times back in, say, 2010, 2011, when those big time names came back in sort of the middle of February on Raw, SmackDown, and just pointed at the sign. They could just look at the superstar, point at the sign, and all of a sudden the match graphic was made within half an hour by one of the production team. That's all they need to do with it here with Ronda and Becky. The story writes itself. We don't really need this where, Ronda Rousey wins the Royal Rumble. And like you say, a full-timer, it's a great position for them, especially, for example, if you wanted to do the story of Charlotte Flair finishes runner-up, that person stops Charlotte Flair, you've automatically built a story for that person to go for the SmackDown Women's Championship, depending on who it is. For me, Lita, Mickey would be fun. Lita's storyline, I think, with Charlotte will happen, by the way. I do think they'll get that, whether it's Elimination Chamber, Fastlane. Mickey, sadly, I don't think is going to get it, even though I loved her promo on Impact this past week. The idea of, the optimism of defending the Knockouts Championship at WrestleMania, title versus title, it's awesome, but I don't see it happening. CW, we're going to talk about returns for this pay-per-view. We are in a little bit of short fashion. So, I mean, I've spoken about Paige there a minute ago. I know a couple that I've seen have been spotted in St. Louis, so I'm reluctant to give those names out. If there's 7 currently with me on the stream, if all 7 come in the next 20 seconds saying, I want to know, I'll say them out loud on this stream. But otherwise, I won't give those names away because I don't think it's fair. But I do think Ronda Rousey is a strong chance. I think Paige is a strong chance. I hope Bayley and Asuka would come in as well. Even though Supersonic X actually said earlier on that they're not expected to return yet. Jonesy thinks the women's Rumble match will go on last. I hope it does, Jonesy. I hope you are right. I think it comes down if they want to do the idea of Roman or Brock winning the Rumble. Therefore, they wrestle earlier in the evening. They have more time then to be fresher for the later in the evening. We'll have to wait and see. Dan says, who do you think will get the most eliminations in the men's match? Great question, this one. I haven't really put too much thought into that part. So this is a very fresh question. Thank you, Dan. I would suppose the early one for me would be Omos. I imagine to get, 4 or 5 eliminations from here. Maybe 1 or 2 big dudes might throw him out. I kind of came up with an idea in my fantasy booking idea of how to eliminate Omos and to try and do it safely. Someone like a big dude, if you're a friend outside the ring, let's say, for example, it's someone a size of like a Braun Strowman. Shanky's the closest WWE have, so it's not going to be Shanky, but someone can pull on his arm, and then we can get 3 or 4 superstars to actually go behind and lift his legs and throw him over the top rope. I think that's a good way to do it. It could be a safe way to get almost out of the ring as well, because he's still quite green at this point. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to do it. The other way to eliminate almost, I suppose, would be Brock or Bobby Lashley can probably do it single-handedly, and I think it would be seen as believable. But almost would be my prediction for that one. But it's interesting to see how that will go down. What time does the Rumble start? I believe in the United States, it will be 7 p.m. Eastern will be the kickoff. 8 p.m. Will be the main show. So if you want the kickoff match, 7:30 is probably the time you're looking at. For the poor folk in the UK, it is going to be a 12 o'clock midnight. That is start time for the pre-show, and then of course it means 1 a.m. start for the main show. So I'm guessing if it's 8 p.m. Eastern for the main show starting, that means Pacific time. That would be 5 p.m. I've been trying to work on my American time zones. If you're from anywhere else, I'm very sorry. You might need Google. Does anyone from AEW show up in the Rumbles? Honestly, Dan, I'm going to say no at this point. I was really, 2 weeks ago, I was really in it. I believed in it. I did a video on it. I thought someone was going to show up. I was really strong and believed that John Moxley or Chris Jericho could be one of those two people that would do it, especially as I think they would be perfect for the headlines created. But I'm not convinced at this point now to believe it will happen. But hey, never say never. Like I said, I'm fully in the Rumble fever. I would love to see it, but I don't see it going down, sadly. Jonesy does say, does the Elimination Chamber being the next pay-per-view change anything? Well, it could possibly. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, last year, let's look at what the situation... Drew McIntyre was the WWE champion coming up last year, wasn't he? And all of a sudden, he lost his championship at the Elimination Chamber. He won the Chamber match, but then he was attacked, wasn't he? And where the Miz cashed in. Bobby Lashley then won the title after that. And then we got ourselves Bobby Lashley and Drew at WrestleMania. So there is a possibility that the chamber can change a lot. We think we know everything right now. Sometimes WWE likes to change the questions. And sometimes I quite like that. I like the idea that we don't know everything because it's more exciting. It's more surprising. So I hope they've got some twists and turns set for the chamber. If they want to put things in motion of what we think we know is going to happen, the time to do it is to start that motion tonight and complete it at the chamber. Because let's be fair, no one cares about Fastlane. Will they have Ronda end the pay-per-view by coming out? Well, I mean, the thing is, that would make a lot of sense, and this is why I think the Women's Rumble should close the show. If she is going to be in it, for example, then I personally think that she would be closing the show, pointing at the sign. That would make the most sense. But I think WWE have got an idea here of doing quite a few surprises tonight, so let's see what they've got in store. One thing's for sure, I will stick with Championship match, Rumble match, the Mixed Tag match, Raw Women's Championship match, other World Title match, Rumble match. That'll be the format. Just depends what one they want to do with those matches. But it'd be exciting to see what will happen. Who will be the shortest in the Rumble? Sami Zayn or Johnny Knoxville is the pick for Jonesy. That's interesting. I think Johnny Knoxville will not be the shortest somehow. I feel that he's going to take a pasting for the time he's in there. I do think he'll be the one to eliminate Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn does feel like it would kind of make a bit of sense for the shortest in the Rumble, but the reason I'm going to go for this one is purely because of the fact of what she said, and I said she said on SmackDown was Natalya was going to break another Guinness World Record. So I think she's attempting to be the shortest entrant in the Royal Rumble ever. I don't think she'll manage it personally, but it's hard to beat Santina Morella's record. But yeah, so I'll go with Natalya. But for the men's one, as you've gone with that there, I think Sami Zayn probably makes the most sense trying to think of the field. Even the people that you sort of don't think would last very long tend to last a little bit of time when you're talking the Dirty Dogs and people like that. So let's see what happens. Last few questions then. We've got Rick Perry. It says, I hope this has happened, but do you see a heel turn in this pay-per-view like Dom eliminating Ray or Angelo turning on Ford? It could be anything. I think that'd be quite cool. Thank you, Rick, by the way, for checking out the stream, and thanks for the sup as well. I like the idea of a Dom on Ray. I think that's really, really cool. I think one thing's for sure, the wheels in motion for the start of the break of RK Bro will happen tonight as well. I think Riddle will eliminate Randy Orton. I think George and I both spoke about this actually and agreed on this during the other stream previously. If you've seen my it's now an old video now, unfortunately, predicting WrestleMania's card, I still stick that I think Riddle versus Randy Orton will happen. And I think I said on that video that I believe that would be the starting point. The only difference from that, from then to now, is I said they'd still be the tag team champions. But who knows? Maybe they win the belts back and they'll lose them again or something like that. Maybe the elimination at the Rumble tonight happens. Then they don't win the belts back for the Alpha Academy. And Randy Orton, after they've been in St. Louis, can turn heel, give a punk kick to Riddle, and then we can set the wheels in motion from there to WrestleMania for them. West Coast Podcast says it's 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 Pacific. So there you go. You are sorted out for your time zones tonight. And there is no kickoff match per WWE Twitter or .com as of yet, which is interesting. I thought maybe there would have been something announced by now, but that probably means that we'll get something very, very last minute. I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of the mid-card titles, even though I think that would be wrong to make them do double duty. But let's see how that will happen. But yes, we've got Rick Perry asking, will we see Moose show up? I personally don't think so. I'd like it to happen, but from what my understanding was on reading reports, and this is going to come via Wrestle Talk when I saw this report, wherever they got it from, was that WWE were looking to get people like the Inspiration at one point into the Women's Royal Rumble and trying to get basically people that have been in WWE before. It didn't matter what company they were in, as long as they've been in WWE before. Moose hasn't. So even though they got the Knockouts champion, I don't think they had the same interest in getting the actual champion from the company. So I think that's the reason why it doesn't happen. But would it be cool and awesome to see? Certainly would. I'd like to have it. More world champions, the better. Let's make this the most star-studded Rumble of all time. Elijah says, all right, thanks, Steve. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for watching. He says, got to go now and save that energy. I don't blame you, Elijah. Thank you for checking that stream, though. And yeah, we're going to be wrapping things up in the next couple of seconds. Anyways, we have no further questions after this. Jones is saying he thinks Johnny Knoxville to be eliminated by Omos, which I think makes a lot of perfect sense. Whoever eliminates Johnny Knoxville is going to make a bit of headlines. So I do believe that this one could make a lot of sense because they want Omos to be a big deal. So yeah, I'm going to go then say that could be a possibility. I will stick with my prediction of Kevin Owens to do so, but hey, Omos would be a fantastic shout. And what would they say? A sports center moment? Could be one of those, or perhaps one of those entertainment tonights. I'm really going back to my 90s references there. Steve, Jonesy, Dan, everyone, and happy Rumble Saturday. Great stream. Thank you, West Coast Podcast, for checking it out. And thanks to everyone that has been checking it out and been involved as well with your questions. And that's pretty much my last thoughts and feelings going into the Rumble. A lot of the predictions are the same, so I should just go through those for people that weren't aware of them from the other day, so you get a little bit of a treat here as well. I did think that Edge and Maurice would win over Miz and Edge, and Beth Phoenix would win over Miz and Maurice. I did think Becky Lynch would retain over Doudrop. I do think as well, I said Big E to win the Men's Rumble, but of course I do feel like a little bit that we could get Roman or Brock in the Rumble, and that would probably change things. I also feel that Ronda Rousey will win the Women's. Bianca is the backup though, should she not turn up. Although I would like Bayley to be in there and win it as well. But hey, a man can only dream. And as for those world title matches, yes, I stick with Seth and I stick with Brock winning. But I do think Jones is right. I do think it will be the other way around, judging the storylines of Roman and, of course, Bobby Lashley. But hey, let's see what happens. It's going to be an exciting night tonight. And one last thing as well, keep an eye on the community tab section because I put the poll up. You voted for it and you voted a resounding yes. SCW Rewind is going to make its return. In fact, it's going to return next week. The show is already selected, and I'm going to reveal what show that is on the community tab tomorrow. So there you go. That's something to look forward to. And the stream itself will be live on this YouTube channel on Wednesday. But that's it from us. Thank you very much for watching today and enjoy the Royal Rumble. Happy Rumble Day. Let me know in the comment section if you've got any last minute predictions for the Royal Rumble, anything that's been missed on this stream as well. It'd be good to interact with you. All the best. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time you're watching SCW here on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the best.